In their third big-screen adventure, Star Trek: Insurrection, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and the crew of the USS Enterprise defied Starfleet to save the Baku people. After the action-packed Star Trek: First Contact, Insurrection tells a smaller story focused not on saving the galaxy but on saving a planet of around 600 people. The film begins when Lieutenant Commander Data, Brent Spiner, malfunctions while on Baku, revealing the Federation's presence on the planet to the villagers. Upon learning of Data's malfunction, Picard takes the USS Enterprise to the planet to investigate. After some searching, Captain Picard and his Enterprise crew discover a concealed ship meant to secretly transport the Baku people away from their planet. Due to metaphasic radiation in the planet's rings, a region called the Briar Patch, Baku has miraculous healing properties that the Sun and the Federation want to exploit. Picard confronts Vice Admiral Doherty, Anthony Zerbe, about the situation, but he reveals that the entire mission has been sanctioned by the Federation Council. This prompts Picard to go rogue to save the Baku people, and his crew members accompany him without hesitation. How Captain Picard and USS Enterprise saved the Baku and the Briar Patch from the Sun. Picard and his crew disobey a direct order to leave the Baku people. After Admiral Doherty orders Captain Picard to leave the Baku people to their fate, Jean-Luc begins replicating weapons and planning a one-man rescue mission. His senior officers soon join him, taking the small captain's yacht down to the planet, while Commander William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, takes the USS Enterprise to inform the Federation of the truth. Picard and his friends then rally the Baku people, planting devices to prevent the Sun from transporting them, and leading them to caves where they can hide. Meanwhile, Commander Riker thwarts the Sun ships that came after him, using a move Lieutenant Commander Geordie LaForge, LeVar Burton, dubs the Riker maneuver. When Picard is captured by the Sun, he convinces one of RUAFO's, F. Murray Abraham, crew members, Gallatin, Greg Henry, to go against his people and prevent them from destroying the Baku. With help from Gallatin, Picard beams the other Sun to the holorship, temporarily fooling them into thinking their plan was successful. RUAFO continues trying to harvest the radiation from Baku's rings, but Picard manages to destroy the ship before this happens. Just before the harvester explodes, Riker beams Picard back to the Enterprise. After RUAFO's death on the harvester, the rest of the Sun stand down. Picard and his crew then enjoy their last moments with the Baku villagers, before departing for another adventure. The Sun secret link to the Baku explained. The Sun used to be a part of the Baku people. RUAFO confronts his own people. Just before the final act of Star Trek: Insurrection, Dr. Beverly Crusher, Gates McFadden, scans one of the Sun and discovers that they are genetically identical to the Baku. As a Baku villager named Anej, Donna Murphy, explains to Picard, 309 years ago, the Baku came from a solar system that was on the verge of self-annihilation, as a result of its people's pursuit of advanced technology and weapons. The Baku chose to abandon technology in favor of a simpler life, isolating themselves from other worlds that might attack them. Although the Baku lived peacefully for around 200 years, a group of young people eventually decided they wanted to embrace technology and exploration. They tried to take over the colony but were unsuccessful, leading the Baku to exile the dissidents from their civilization. These exiles became the Sun, who found other, more grotesque ways to prolong their lives. By the time of Star Trek: Insurrection, RUAFO and his people had allied with Admiral Doherty to take back what they believed the Baku had stolen from them. In the end, the Baku agreed to let any willing Sun rejoin their civilization on the planet. What happened to the Briar Patch after Star Trek: Insurrection? Star Trek has not revisited the Briar Patch. The planet of Baku was located within an area of space known as the Briar Patch, which contained metaphasic radiation and other dangerous space matter. The Briar Patch was part of Federation space by the time of Star Trek: Insurrection, but it remains unclear what happened to the area after the events of the film. The Baku, and presumably some of the Sun, remained on their planet, but it seems likely that Starfleet would want to continue studying Baku and the Briar Patch. Although the region has popped up on star charts in the background of various Star Trek scenes, the Briar Patch has never been seen again in all its glory. Did Captain Picard return to his Star Trek: Insurrection love interest? Star Trek mostly forgot about Picard's romance with Anej. Star Trek: Insurrection Picard romance. In his quest to save the Baku people, Captain Picard develops feelings for Anej. The two bond throughout the film, and Jean-Luc appears to briefly consider remaining on the planet with her. But ultimately, Picard knows that he cannot abandon Starfleet and the Enterprise, and he departs with his crew at the end of the film. In one of the final scenes, Picard says that he has 318 days of shore leave coming, and that he intends to use them. While this implies that Picard will be returning to Baku, it's unclear if he ever saw Anij again. Star Trek Picard Season 3 revealed that Jean-Luc had at least a brief romance with Beverly Crusher sometime after the events of Star Trek Nemesis that resulted in the birth of Jack Crusher, Ed Spaliers. Still, it's possible that Picard revisited Anij and spent time on Baku sometime before or after his encounter with Beverly. Captain Liam Shaw, Todd Stashwick, of the USS Titan A even referenced Picard's Star Trek Insurrection romance after Picard and Riker commandeered his ship. As Shaw lists the blunders of Picard and his crew from the TNG films, he points out that the Federation might remember that time that someone threw the Prime Directive out the window so they could snog a villager on Baku. It's a hilarious line, although it does raise the question of just how detailed Starfleet's mission briefs are. Star Trek Insurrection was a disappointment after Star Trek First Contact. Insurrection would have worked better as an episode of TNG. Although Star Trek Insurrection has a charm to it, the film is largely a letdown after the more compelling Star Trek First Contact. After the large scope and massive stakes of First Contact, Insurrection feels more like a two-part episode of the television series than a blockbuster film. The film tries to be funny but misses the mark with its juvenile humor, and the central conflict doesn't land as well as it should. While Picard has the moral high ground, Admiral Doherty makes some decent points about how the Federation could use the Baku planet to help billions of people. RUAFO may be truly villainous, but the rest of the Sun A don't come across as pure evil, and many of them don't want to kill the Baku. All of this makes Picard's defiance of the Federation feel less righteous than the film wants it to be. Plus, Insurrection spends too much time focusing on the Sun A and the Baku people and not enough time on the crew of the Enterprise. All in all, Insurrection is fine, but its flaws become even more glaring when compared with First Contact.